Hello, my Stampin' friends. It is Tuesday night, December 8th. Welcome to Almost Live Stamping with Charlene, where tonight we are going to talk about how to line up two-step stamps the easy way. You know, when you have a set that has the two-step stamp where you have the outline and then you have the inside of the stamp, and you have to, after you stamp the outline of the stamp, you have to stamp the inside piece. You try to line it up, and usually you can't. Tonight I'm going to show you an easy way so that you can always line it up perfectly and your cards will come out so professional looking. So let's get started. I do have some announcements at the end, so be sure to stay tuned for that one. Really big announcement that's really exciting. Also, be sure to check out my online store at stampinwithcharlene.com, because starting today, December 8th, Stampin' Up! Has started its year-end closeout sale. There are some really great things, 50% off, 20% to 50% off. So be sure to check that out, but let's get started with tonight's video. To get started with how to line up two-step stamps the easy way, let's first talk about what two-step stamps really are. If you look at the Poinsettia Petals stamp set, you will see that there are these three funny looking stamps, and you're saying to yourself, what are those? So if you look here, there is a large leaf and a small leaf, and then there are different size poinsettias. So this would be considered a two-step stamp, this one also, and then because we have this piece, the poinsettias are also considered two-step stamps. What that means is the first step is that you stamp the outline, which is the main stamp, and then the second step is you are going to stamp the shadow on the inside of the corresponding image. Now, sometimes it's a challenge to stamp that straight, to get it in line in the right spot. You'll stamp your leaf with an acrylic block, and then you'll take the inside shadow piece, place that on an acrylic block, and try to stamp that too. And sometimes it's difficult to line that up. So let me just show you an example quickly. This outline has a vein inside the stamp, and you'll be able to tell because on this leaf, this is an oops. I didn't line it up because do you see how this line is right there? Well, that blank line should be over top of the center of the leaf, and that would be a correctly stamped two-step stamp. So let me stop talking and then just get to the point and show you how you can easily line up your two-step stamps so that you get an image that's like this instead of an oops like this. Now, some stamps are very precise, where lining up the images is really important. So I am going to show you an easy way to line them up, and they will be lined up pretty much every time. Let's talk about the Stamparatus, and let me try to finagle it under the camera and the lighting so you can really see this fabulous tool from Stampin' Up! This is the answer to how to stamp straight with two-step stamps. There are so many different features to the Stamparatus. I'm only going to go over a few of them with you in this video, but every Stamparatus comes with two swing acrylic plates, and because I'm going to be using a lot of stamps with this project, what I did was I just took one of the plates and I took all of the stamps that I'm going to need from the stamp set, from the Poinsettia Petal stamp set, and I just stuck them on here. So this acrylic hinged plate is pictured as a huge acrylic block. It's much thinner, but that's the purpose. It acts just like an acrylic block. And that's why the Stamparatus is a great tool for beginning crafters and paper crafters and stampers because you don't have to invest in all of the different sizes of acrylic blocks. You can just purchase the Stamparatus and you can use any size stamp that you want, from big, like our background stamps that Stampin' Up! Offers, and even small ones. Like you'll notice this two-step stamp, the inside of the leaf is not very big. So it comes with 2 acrylic plates, and there are so many different things that you can do with these things. You see that they easily come off, but I'm not going to get into that today because I just want to show you the main feature, which is how to stamp your images, your two-step stamps straight. I'm going to, while I'm at it showing you, I'm going to pull this around and just stick it on this side because that's the side that I want to use it on today. So one advantage is it comes with 2 plates and you can stick all your stamps on 1 plate. It also comes with, this you can purchase separately. This is a foam pad, and this is great for using photopolymer or clear stamps because they're much thinner than regular red stamps. So you need some extra height on the base of the Stamparatus for when you do your stamping. So that is another feature, that it works with both clear photopolymer and red rubber stamps. You can also get some great grid paper to protect your foam surface. So I'm going to use some of that too. It's already cut down to fit on the Stamparatus. So those are some of the benefits, and as I stamp along and show you how to use it for your two-step stamping to keep everything straight and in line, I will talk about some other benefits also. It also comes with, if you flip it over, it comes with 2 magnets. This is magnetic, and the magnets are great because it helps keep your cardstock. When I put my cardstock down on here, it helps to keep the cardstock in place. So let me just go ahead and put a piece on there. This is the piece that I'm going to be using for the project to show you. And you can also purchase additional magnets. And I am going to use, since I'm going to do this on 1 large piece of cardstock, this is a half of sheet. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I cut a regular piece of cardstock in half. And I'm going to stamp everything on 1 piece of paper. That's another feature of this, another benefit. Instead of having to stamp and each image separately, I can put all of the images on the Stamparatus and stamp them all at the same time. Now, I must say that these magnets are very, very strong, and you have to be careful. A couple of times they caught my finger, but there is this little thumb guide here to help you easily get them off. But if you'll, let me just show you that, I mean, they are really strong, and if you have to use a lot of strength to, seriously, I'm not exaggerating, to get them apart. So you have to be careful with them. But the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and put your cardstock, whatever size you want to use, down on your Stamparatus anywhere you want to. But I am going to put mine here and then put my magnets at the very, let me put this one up at the top. I'm going to do all the different, the top and the bottom of the piece of cardstock. And now I will show you how we can place our stamps on here and get stamping. First, let me show you what my goal is. I want to show you how you can stamp the larger and the medium-sized poinsettia with the two-step stamp image on the inside. And then we're going to do the large leaf, the small leaf, and then I'm going to show you how you can stamp the berries on the inside of the berry outline stamp. This will really show you why the Stamparatus is an important tool to have in your stamping collection. So instead of stamping each one individually, what I'm going to do is take my stamps off of my acrylic plate, and I'm going to place them on the cardstock. Now, you have to remember that you are working upside down. So I am going to be bringing this piece over to pick up the stamp. So I want to make sure when I put my image down on the cardstock that I have the flat side facing up. So that way when I go to ink it up, I'm going to be inking the correct side. So just remember to have the flat side up. And if you want to come up with some little saying in your head to help you remember that, I always like to do that. Feel free. Okay, so flat side up. Let's put this one down here so we'll have some more room. And I also, if you can tell, I went ahead on mine and I just took a pen and I made a little X to help me remember that I want that, in my mind, I want that to be the top. And I made the X on the two-step stamp so that I know that this is the part that, that's the right way to put the stamp so that it lines up correctly, but that's an aside. And then we're going to do the small leaf, so I'll fit that right there. Oopsie, I made the mistake. I put it the wrong way. I want it to be so that the flat side is up. Flat side up with the larger leaf. And then this is the berry stamp. You'll see that it's just the outlines of the berries. So I'm going to put that right there. Now you want to remember that you are going to be using the die cuts. Unless you don't have them and you want to just use your scissors, that's fine too. So you want to leave some room around each one because you're going to be cutting them out. So now we have our first stamp. Let's just say step 1 stamps, all set down on our cardstock, held in place with the magnets on the foam sheet, and the foam sheet is protected with a piece of the Stamparatus grid paper. So now what I'm going to do is just fold over, hinge over the acrylic piece, and then I am going to put it back over. The stamps are now on the acrylic piece. They're now all held on here. So there's no difference really between this or applying the stamp to an acrylic block. It's the same thing. So now what I'm going to do is using Stampin' Spots work the best with the Stamparatus because they're smaller, so you can more easily apply the ink to each image. And this is great if you make multiples of cards because you can just lay everything out here, stamp, ink stamp, and all you're doing is changing the cardstock out. So using the Stampin' Spots, my old olive Stampin' Spot has seen better days, so I will use my thumb to hide the little ink leakage there. But you can also purchase empty Stampin' Spots from Stampin' Up, and you can purchase an ink refiller, and you can make your own. So you can look in the catalog. I will leave the item number here on the video, and I'll also post it in the description below. But you can order blank. They're empty. They're just, when you get it, it's just a plain white ink pad inside, and then you just take your ink refill and you can make whatever color you want to make. So I am going to set those aside for right now, and for the outside, the outline of the image, I am going to use my Saddle Brown Stays On ink, which, wow, that's a change for me that I'm not using Memento ink. So let me show you a trick with this too. Make sure you don't throw this protective cover away. This really helps you keep the ink pad moist. So make sure you don't discard this. So I want my outline of all of the images to be this dark brown color, and I'm using Stays On because I'm going to be using the Stampin' Blends. So I want to make sure that my images are stamped with a permanent ink, and Stays On is permanent. So I'm just inking them all up, probably too much, but I like to make sure I have too much instead of not enough. So now I'm just going to flip it over press it down, and voila, all of my images are stamped. Now, here is another feature and benefit of using the Stamparatus. You'll notice here that some of the stamp was missed when I pressed it over. I guess I didn't put my hand there firmly enough. So because everything is still in the same place, watch what I can do. I'm gonna take my ink pad again, and I'm gonna re-ink this image here because it was just the middle of that poinsettia that wasn't dark enough for my liking. And I can just flip it over again, and because it's all still in the same place, I can restamp it. So there is another feature and benefit. And now it's nice and dark. And you know what? I like that better than the other ones. I think that came out much better. So I am going to stamp all of them again. See how on the camera, you see how that one is so much more crisp than the others? So I'm just going to give them another inking and stamping so they look nice and dramatic. So that is another feature and benefit. Just go ahead, ink them up, and stamp again, and there you go. So if I wanted to do this again, I could just, because I was making multiples, I could just remove this piece, put another piece in, and stamp again. But I'm done using these, so what I'm gonna do is just take my acrylic, I'm gonna plop these over here, and I can clean them all when I'm finished. So I'm just gonna set them all aside for now, and I will clean them all when I'm done. Now that we've done that, I am going to grab my Take Your Pick tool and all of the two-step stamps, the second step in the two steps. So I have the 2 leaf shadows, and then I have the berry shadows and the poinsettia flower shadow. So I am going to, now remember, flat side up, take the berries first, and you can just play around with it and make sure that you have it so that your berries are lined up in the correct place over the outline. Now the berry set here is one where this would be almost impossible to line up perfectly if you didn't use the Stamparatus. So I'm just placing it on the image itself, and that's how I can pretty much guarantee that it is going to be, if not perfectly lined up, it's gonna be pretty close. So now I'm gonna take this one, and you can see that blank line in the middle. This is for the larger leaf. And with the flat side facing me, I am going to place it so that that blank line is right over the vein that's in the center of the leaf. And I can be pretty sure, confident, hopefully, but you know, I'm making a video, so what can go wrong will go wrong. Let's hope I put that in the right spot and it lines up perfectly. And then I'm gonna take this little shadow and also put that in the center. There is no vein in this one, so you just wanna make sure you place it in the center. And then on this, I also put, this is the poinsettia one, I also, ahead of time, put a little X at the top so that I know that this is the top. Now sometimes when you use photopolymer, it gets a little sticky on your fingers, and you set it in the right place, and then you go to move your hand away and the stamp moves out of alignment. So that's why you like to use the Take Your Pick tool and make sure that I can just go in there and put it in the center, and it is nice and straight in the same area. So now I'm going to use, I'm going to flip over my acrylic plate and pick up the stamps. Okay, and now I will, on both of the leaves, I'm going to use my old olive Stampin' Spot and stamp those up, or ink those up. And then I'm going to use my soft suede on the berries and the inside of the poinsettia and ink those up. And now, here we go. I am going to flip this over, press those down, and voila, there we go, lined up, nice and straight. If you can see the center here of the leaf, the vein, see how you can't see it? It's right over top. It's not like my oops that I showed you before where it went off to the side. See how it's lined up right in the middle? Okay, so now what we need to do is we can take all of these off because we're finished with them, shove them on the acrylic plate to wash them later, and now we need to move over to do the smaller inside poinsettia. And what I'm gonna use to clean off my stamps, because I'm gonna be using it, you know, I'm gonna use the Simply Chamois. And what you do is you just wet this. It's a lot easier when you're using the Stamparatus, doing two-step stamping, to keep this on hand. You just wet it, wring it out, and it just stays moist, and you just clean your stamp with it. Now, don't get shocked. This is the one that I use in real life. I know it's stained, right? But that doesn't mean anything. It still works. So this is nice and damp, and I can just rub this over the stamp, and I can also wipe off any ink that has gotten on the acrylic. And now I'm going to put this down on the smaller one with the X at the top, and use my little take your pick tool to make sure it's straight. Flip the plate over, pick up the stamp, stamp it with my soft suede, and stamp it, and there you have it. That is how you easily do two-step stamping and have everything in line and nice and straight. So stick with me if you would like to see me assemble the card. Here are all of my dirty stamps on this one nice big acrylic plate. I keep track of all of them. I don't lose them. So I can, when I'm finished, I'm gonna wash those. I am going to take my magnets off and store them on the back on those cute little compartments there. And I can set this aside, and now I want to go ahead and take my dies and cut out these images that I just stamped. So I am going to use the larger die, the medium, the berries, and both of the leaves. I misplaced the smaller one, of course, because that's how it goes when we're making videos, but you want to use both sizes of the leaves to cut those out. And after you do that, you will be left with this. So now what we want to do is take our Stampin' Blends. We want to take our Mango Melody, and I'm going to use this to color in the berries that are at the center of the poinsettia. I love this color, Mango Melody. I do not use it enough. I need to start using it more. And then for the leaves, I'm taking the light, oh, that was the light Mango Melody. I'm taking the light Old Olive, and I'm just, no rhyme or reason, just coloring it in, shading it in, going over the ink, shading it in. And then I'm taking light soft suede for the poinsettias. And the same thing, just, I'm not coloring it all the way to the end, just in the center, just to give it some shadowing, like that. And then finally, I am going to just add a little bit around the berries, just because, but you don't have to do that. I just have so much fun when I'm using the Stampin' Blends that I don't want to stop. Okay. So next thing that we want to do is assemble our card. This is the finished card, and if you look closely, you will see that I actually used an embossing folder. Let's see if I can get it in the light. If you can see there you can see it. I used the embossing folder to match this grain that's on the Poinsettia Place Designer Series paper. I thought it would look really nice to give it extra dimension and to really, really make the card look elegant, and it really does. So let's get started with assembling the card. The embossing folder that I used is the Subtle 3D embossing folder, which is found on page 185 of the annual catalog, and you will see that it's just a subtle line that is three-dimensional. And using it with this wood grain piece of the Designer Series paper, it really makes it look like it's wood grain. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this piece of Designer Series paper, and this is 3 by 4 1/4, and I'm just going to adhere this to the center of my card, and I have my card 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's going, I have it going vertically. So I'm going to put that in the center, and then I'm going to take, this is 3 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to take a piece of Old Olive, which is 3 by 1 inch, and I'm just going to adhere that to the center of this. And I'm going to take a piece of this red, the red twine, which is retiring. So go ahead and jump on, because our end of season blowout sale started today. And you can find all of that information on my website at Stampin' with Charlene if you didn't already receive my email. If you'd like to receive my email, you can just go to my website and sign up to get my email, and then that way you'll get notified whenever there's any promotions. So I am just, going to assemble that like that, and let's go ahead and attach this to the card. And you'll notice that I put it off, there's probably about 1/4 inch on the left-hand side here, and then I left this big space open on the right. And then I worked from the bottom up. I took the Merry Christmas that's from the same stamp set, and I put this down here at the bottom. I put it even with the edge of the card, and then up probably so that there's about 1/4 inch of Designer Series paper showing on the bottom. And then I just started building the poinsettia. I started with the largest one first and put it down a little bit off, so you'll see how much space I have here from the ribbon. I put that there. And then I started to add the things underneath it. So I put the larger leaf up here on the right, and I only put the glue like towards the bottom, so that everything that's in the center is where the glue is, so that everything else sticks up, and it gives it a really nice three-dimensional look. Okay, there's the other leaf, and then I put the berries in there. Put one over here, and I put one down over here, and I finished it off with the medium size poinsettia, just to hide like any empty space, to make it look really thick and lush. So there's the flower, and then I finished the whole card off with the wonderful gems from the mini catalog. Be sure to check everything out to see what is retiring and what is on sale. I think these are part of that. I added one to the top and one to the bottom. And now I can rest easy knowing that my two-step stamping was straight, and it was very, very easy because I used the Stamparatus. So now you can see that the key to stamping straight in the lines with two-step stamps is to use a tool like the Stamparatus. It's a great investment to add to your stamping things, and it's great for people who are just beginning because you don't have to invest in all of the acrylic blocks. You can use the large stamps and the small stamps too. So here comes the big announcement. Are you ready? Starting in January, if you are a customer of stampinwithcharlene.com, meaning you order your Stampin' Up! Supplies from me, you are going to be invited to join my VIP private Facebook group. This is a group on Facebook just for my customers. It's a private group. You have to be invited, and to be invited, you just have to be a customer of mine. And what we're going to do there is share our ideas. When you make a card using mostly Stampin' Up! Items, I just want you to snap a picture of it and share it on the Facebook page. There's going to be different hashtags, and once a month there's going to be a drawing, and you are going to win. The winner will receive a bundle from Stampin' Up! How fun is that? Well, no, it's going to be from me, but it's going to be a Stampin' Up! Bundle. So if you would like to place an order, make sure you do that, and do it from my online store, because I would love to have you as part of this group. It's going to start in January of 2021, and I already have some really special things planned. Card classes in the mail will start up again in January with Valentine's Day cards, so look forward to that. In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell icon so you can receive an email alert whenever I post something new. Have a great night, and I will see you again next week.